like, we're talking about like, transitioning like online and doing like online training, and you've done personal training in person, and then you trained Gary V, which has been well documented. And then you transition to online training. We have a lot of trainers and actually a lot of like jujitsu, practitioners that are looking to like, like, how do I monetize, or how do I make a living online? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's something, that's becoming more and more popular as the years go on, especially like with what's happened the last like year and a half with the pandemic. What's some advice to some of those people out there listening to this going, hey, like, how do I transition my business and go online? And is there anything that you can do to help them out?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's actually funny. So Mark Cerrone, my first jujitsu coach, that was sort of like what our deal was initially. He was like, listen, I'll give you privates. I'll come into the city, but you got to help me with social media. And I was like, deal, like easy. And he's crushed it. And I think that's really where a lot of jujitsu coaches and people who want to be able to so here's the thing. I think jujitsu is right now where the strength and conditioning industry was about 10, 12 years ago. In terms of, I remember when I first started doing online stuff, there was huge pushback from the strength and conditioning world. They were like, this is bullshit. You can't coach people online. It's absolutely worthless. Like it's not going to help anybody, and it's not going to work. And now here we are, and like, it's fucking working really, really well. And people actually enjoy it, and it's helping them a lot. I think there's a lot of that with jujitsu now, where a lot of like, well, I don't know if it's going to work. Is it right? Should I be doing it? Should I not be doing it? Is it even possible to do it? The answer is yes, it's absolutely possible. The question is, do you want to be fully online, or would you like some inline, some online, some in person, a little bit of a hybrid of both? And I think most coaches would do best to have a little bit of both, some online, some in person, mainly because you get the best of both worlds. I do still like to coach people in person, even though my entire business is online. I coach people in person now just because like it keeps me fresh. It keeps me sharp. Like I need to keep practicing and coaching in order to keep being a good coach and keep getting better. With that being said, Gary has said this a million times. I think it's one of the most, Gary has probably like 10 to 12 things that he said that are the most important for a number of different reasons. In terms of building a business online, one of the things he said is, I believe it's a 4-word phrase. It's like, attention is the asset. And that is like the most important thing to understand. If you want to build something online, attention is the asset. And what that means is eyeballs. And specifically just people. You need to have people who are interested in you and what you're doing in order to actually make anything happen. I see in the strength and conditioning world for so long, like these amazing coaches who are great coaches, just getting pissed because people who they deem not as good coaches are crushing it online and making a lot of money and helping a lot of people, have thousands of members and but they're like, I'm a way better coach than that person. It's like, yeah, but you don't fucking make any content. You don't put yourself out there. You could have the best knowledge in the world. You could be the best coach, but no one's going to buy your shit because they don't know who you are. Whereas that person, they might not be as good as you, but at least they're putting in effort. They're getting eyeballs on them and they're helping people. They're helping thousands more people than you are because you haven't put any effort into helping people for free online yet, so they don't know you. So I think the number one thing is to make sure that you're getting your information out there. And the easiest way to do that, and I'm starting to do this with my jiu-jitsu professor now, is to put instructional videos out there. I put whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube. This podcast is great, but podcasting is very hard to grow without another medium to push people towards it, right? So there are 3 major types of long form content, which are podcast, website articles, and YouTube. Those are, in my opinion, the 3 best forms of content for a sustainable business long term. Podcast, website articles, and YouTube. They SEO, they have search engine optimization, which is hugely important, especially website articles and YouTube. If you can get someone listening to an hour-long podcast or watching a 20-minute video or any of that, or like reading an article that takes them 30 minutes, you've got someone who's really invested in you and really trusts you and cares about you. Those people are the most important people to you in your business. But it's to listen to a new podcast, to just randomly be scrolling through your podcast feed, or to randomly be going through YouTube and decide I'm gonna read this new website article or watch this new YouTube video or listen to this new podcast, is very difficult unless someone is referring, like, hey, you got to listen to this podcast. You got to listen to this podcast. Or if they've found you on another medium, which is something like a short form piece of content, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, sometimes Facebook is an example of that as well. But that's where these short form pieces of content you can use to get attention, get eyeballs, and then push them somewhere else. So for me, I think TikTok is massively underutilized in this, specifically the jiu-jitsu world. Instagram has become more and more utilized, but I still see huge gaps in it. And I think there's just so much room for growth. I know, like, I think the benefit that I have here is I consider myself a black belt in social media. I consider myself a black belt in strength and conditioning. I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and I'm very interested in jiu-jitsu, and I'm a consumer of jiu-jitsu, and I buy jiu-jitsu content. And so I can see where there are gaps in the industry. And I'm fucking telling you, there's huge gaps on Instagram. There are massive gaps on TikTok. And if you want people to find you and to get eyeballs on you, that could lead to an online business where people can pay you for any number of things. You don't need to worry about what you're going to offer for payment yet. I think that's where people get too hung up. Well, what am I going to offer? What am I going to offer? You don't need to offer anything yet. First, you need to get eyeballs on you. And that's going to come from free instructional material that you put onto these platforms.
Mm-hmm. No, you said a lot of really good things right there. It's just especially like content, assets, attention to details, getting that stuff out there. And that's the biggest thing. It's just, and I think that's like a lot of people, they're not confident to put that content out, whether they're, oh, it's not going to be good enough or whatever. It's a lot of times just getting stuff out.
Yeah. If you look back at my content from 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, you will see a very shy, very nervous, very camera shy, relatively poorly spoken individual. But I keep all of those videos up. I keep all those articles up. I never take them down, because now people can go back and say, wow, like, he's really grown as a speaker. He's grown as an author. He's grown as a coach. And what's funny is a lot of those articles and videos that I made 10 years ago still drive a significant portion of business. Even though I think they're shit pieces of content now, people still enjoy them.